The Embry-Riddle Center for Entrepreneurship presents the Entrepreneurship Journey Speaker Series. This speaker series gives viewers the opportunity to listen to Embry-Riddle affiliated entrepreneurs talk about their journey building their startup venture and lessons learned during the process. Welcome to the Embry-Riddle Upstart Hangers Entrepreneurship Journey podcast series. Today, our guest is Trevor Perrott. Trevor is the CEO and co-founder of Trevors Technology, which began with a team of 6 aerospace engineers and 3 Embry-Riddle alumni founders. Founded in 2017, Trevors Technology is located in the Microplex Research Park, and they develop remote sensing solutions for UAS service providers and government organizations. Before I go into the questions, Trevor, can you introduce yourself and your company to the audience?
Sure. I'm Trevor Perrott. Thank you for the intro, Oko. Census Technologies is working to make beyond visual line of sight drone flight commonplace in the world. Long story short, we don't believe that human beings need to die patrolling energy infrastructure.
Great. So how did you come up with your business idea?
Well, I worked at Textron for a while on military drones, and while I was there, they actually held a pitch competition for the leadership of Textron was looking to its employees to come up with ideas about how to commercialize the product line that Textron currently had. So some of the things I worked on there were the Universal Ground Control Station, the Shadow 200 UAV, and everybody else that would come up would say, well, I think we should take Shadow and try to sell it into this market, or we should take Aerosonde and try to sell it in that market. And whenever it was my turn to give a pitch, I said, everything we make is too expensive. It's too complicated. The commercial market isn't ready for that. If we want to, penetrate that market segment, we really have to be ROI conscious. And it's hard to get there when it's $1 million a copy, if you will. So they told me, well, that's not our business. And I went on, I left Textron and I went to Gulfstream for a while, and it was my boss's boss's boss. I ran this business idea past him about, giving quasi-military capability at a commercial price. And he basically told me that I either needed to quit and go try it, or that he was going to make sure I was fired to go try it. So I owe Mark a big thank you. But that was kind of what lit the candle to give it a swing.
Great. And can you tell us a little bit about your business product, and how did you successfully locate and build that your customer base?
Well, that's a good second half of the question. I'll take the easy part first. So we've got a family of unmanned aircraft, 2-member family right now that are they're vertical takeoff and landing fixed wing aircraft. So our customers can launch from nearly anywhere and recover nearly anywhere, but they also get the endurance coverage area range of a airplane versus a multi-rotor type system. We also make we call them mobile operations centers. Basically, they're kind of like rolling hotel rooms that double as a ground control station for the aircraft. And they're a key part of the safety case that our customers use to get the beyond line of sight approval from the FAA. Now, the other part of that, how did we build the customer base? That that was hard, very hard, still hard every day. The the long and the short of it is, I thought that including myself, the three founders of the company, did a hell of a job building a culture that is just absolutely obsessive in finding and solving problems. So we had to start very simple because we didn't have a lot of money. So the first thing that we sold for a while was a hand-launched version of what we make now. And it had flaws, but it had some perks too. The flaws were you had to have some talent to be able to hand launch correctly. Not just anyone could do that.
Yeah.
The perks were it would fly forever. It could carry big payloads, and it was very stealthy, quiet. It was next to impossible to hear it. And then we kept hearing our customers over and over and over again. We hate having a runway. We hate having a runway. We hate having a runway. And our first strategy to address that was trying to shorten the takeoff with a catapult and trying to recover with a parachute to give you a near VTOL capability. That wasn't good enough. That's probably one of the more expensive mistakes that we ever made was trying to do what everybody else does. So we did the hard thing and figured out how to make an airplane go vertical. And that has been selling really well. So bottom line there is, I don't believe that customer bases have a whole lot to do with products. I think they have a lot to do with one group of people's ability to meet and exceed another's problem.
Yeah. Great. And how do you go about generating new ideas for your company?
Well, in general, they come from our customers now, which is good. So I'm gonna kind of come back to the familiar theme. We've got good relationships with our customers, so they continue to bring new valuable problems to our attention, and we continue to be in love with solving them. So the ideas are kind of self-generating.
Cool. And especially during the beginning of starting your company, how did you go about around raising funding for your ventures, such as like seed funding, etc.?
The cold hard truth is that I feel like that was something I did very mistakenly. We raised money about $25,000 at a time for 2 years. And I really can look back and say with confidence that there's a minimum amount of capital this company should have had to get going. So I would advise anybody that takes the time to listen to this that when you run the numbers enough, you know that you're right about how much money it's going to take, raise that amount of money. Don't do it 25,000 times. Unless you've got a business where that's more than enough. And the company wasn't that. So we scrounged together our own money. We took money from friends and family. It used to be Fire Spring Fund. Now it's Starter Studio in Orlando. They were our first institutional investor. Then we went on and Kiernagha Partners led our seed round last July, and we're looking to raise a Series A later this year. So
great.
We live to tell the tale through the mistake.
Great. And I know, especially with your venture, you've developed your I know you've developed your product into, I think you have 1 or 2 more products in your product line. and you talked about, I was looking on your website, and you have like the mobile center for the drone, to where you can actually like analyze data and like view the drone wherever it's going on site. So how did that idea develop? How did your ideas and product innovations develop into that?
Well, so the first mobile operations center that we ever built was after they were the third customer that asked us to do it.
Okay.
The first two times we were asked, we straight up didn't have enough capital to do it. We couldn't fund it. The only way, like, it was really tough in the beginning because what we make is, relatively expensive. Some of the packages can get up into hundreds of thousands. And when you're starting off with near $0, you're pretty much telling your customer, I need you to give me 100% of the money up front. Oh, by the way, this is the first time we've done this, but trust me.
Yeah.
And that's a hard sell to me. But we got one and then several. So again, I'll kind of come back to customer said, I have a problem. First time we passed. Second time they said we have a problem. Passed again. Third time they were like, we really need this and we'll pay you up front for it. And then that was kind of the point of, okay, this is a problem worthy of actually building something for it.
Interesting.
And that's a really neat. The mobile operations center product line is really cool for how influential customers have been and what that's become.
Yeah, it really is. Can you describe your typical day in your company?
Sure. Ecstasy coupled with pure terror for about 23 of 24 hours. No, let's see, my day typically starts pretty early when my 18-month-old daughter wakes up.
Okay.
And then it's kind of a review process of what actually happened yesterday and what did I dream that happened yesterday, and making sure that I'm on the same page with reality. And then, I pick up and think about, what are our goals for the year? What are our goals for the quarter? What are our goals for the month? And how does today fit into that picture? And then I try to come in and articulate, how today fits into that picture for the rest of our team. And then it's just, wrestling with perpetual problems. How are we going to cash flow this? Is that payment going to come in on Thursday or Friday?
Yeah.
Does that matter? Yeah, it matters. What are we going to do if it goes the other way? So a lot of it is kind of like real-time scenario-based planning. And, I tell our team that a weakness of mine is that I fail to celebrate the incremental progress. Like the little wins that add up to the big wins.
Yeah.
I'm really bad about just taking a moment and, jumping for joy and then getting back in the grind. Because I have an engineering background, I'm so results oriented that a lot of the journey gets lost in that. From the tunnel vision, if you will.
And I know you talked a little bit about finances and business, and you said you're an engineer. So how did you go about learning the business side of running a business, having like finances and cash flow issues and stuff like that, managing your cash flows and stuff?
So a couple of things. I don't have a degree for it, but I ran myself through finance school by night. Because if I didn't, I would have absolutely no grasp on what the hell is going And the second, probably more important piece of that is surrounding myself with people that could advise me, had been around the block, know finance, and now have started and built multiple successful companies, and even spending time with folks that have brutally failed,
Yeah.
so that I can learn what failure means too, without actually having to live through it.
Yeah.
So, to answer you straight up, force myself to basically go through finance school at night, even though I don't have a degree for it,
Yeah.
and good advisors.
Yeah. I'm currently an MBA student, and I talk to my engineer counterparts a lot, and they, when it comes to business, they're like, oh, they're all about the product and the idea, but when it comes to like how we're gonna fund it, they're like, no, 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 you deal with that. You guys deal with that. So very interesting.
Mike Bowers there at the Center for Entrepreneurship, he was one of the folks that has been a cheerleader and an advocate all the way since the beginning.
Yeah.
And, I honestly think that they need to do more about forcing engineers to be financially savvy.
Yeah.
Like money, engineering's hard, right? You're taking the edges of science and technology and pushing them further. Except there's one important thing that's got to factor into that, and what you're working on has to be valuable. And the medium that we tend to talk about value in is money. And
Yeah.
if you can't read a P&L and a balance sheet, you're just totally in left field about how money fits into the why is what I'm working on today important for the business.
Yeah.
And I just think that's something that's weak in engineering education. So I would encourage engineers to actually go take a business class, take an accounting class. It'll be useful.
Definitely. And how do you market your business? And I know a lot of people target their clients via email, LinkedIn. Like, what tactics do you use to basically get the attention of your customer? And which tactics have kind of have been successful over the years, and which one hasn't been successful over the years?
Um, hmm. Let me think about that for a moment. So social media tends to be pretty good about getting the word out. But definitely in this business, nothing has quite replaced the human relationship. So there's a lot of phone calls, there's a lot of Zoom calls, there's letting people into our office, us making trips to their office, and then how do we get their attention? I think it's telling the story, right?
Yeah.
We tell the story of folks that haven't even bought from us yet, because what they're trying to do and what we want to enable them to do are aligned. So in our marketing, our chief tactic is to kind of give the glory to the client. Our clients are the ones that are delivering billions of dollars of cost reduction to the energy industry, or they're saving lives in California from wildfires, or they're making sure that water is going to flow downhill, not uphill, on the construction project. So fortunately, the business that we work in and the verticals we're in, we have this really deep well of good stories to tell.
Thank you for that feedback. And what's your favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur? What do you love most about it?
I would say that I think he's like employee number 4. He was one of the very, very early team members, is getting married this summer. And I feel like this company somehow financed that, just finance that living. Uh, and I think that's really cool. And I think it's cool when you can watch people. The phrase that I use around here is, if we're doing this right, people ought to be able to pursue happiness within and without the workplace.
Yeah.
And watching the happiness occur outside the walls of census is rewarding.
Great. And one last question. What was the most satisfying moment in your business? Like, was there an event and point of time where you're just like, yes?
The most satisfying point hasn't happened yet. I think that's the story that I'll stick to, is that there's a great movie from the 90s called The Great Debaters with Denzel Washington in it, and he stands up and he says, he's training these kids on how to debate, and he keeps making them say this over and over. My competitor does not exist. He is only the voice of dissent to the truths I speak. And that line still sticks with me a little bit about the real center of competition has got to be with ourselves.
Yeah.
So that the value we create today is greater than the value we created yesterday. And if we can do that in perpetuity, whatever else goes on in the world is irrelevant. We need to focus on our customers and solve their problems. So, the most satisfying moment for me is going to be when, the number of helicopter deaths for energy patrol in the world is zero. Because in this century, with this technology, there is no reason for flyby helicopter deaths for millions of miles of infrastructure where we just don't have to take that risk. Most satisfied. I don't know if I'll ever be satisfied. It is another thing I'll add. If I truly believe that quality is a living value, if I truly believe that, value can be infinite, am I ever going to be satisfied? Probably not. And that's okay. That I believe in the pursuit of happiness. And I also say that happiness is a choice. So I can choose to be happy without being satisfied.
And one last thing I just remembered, what piece of advice would you give to people in college or college graduates that want to become entrepreneurs and start their own venture?
Specifically to prospective entrepreneurs in college, you're going to have to become a master of emotional resilience, I think is the word I'll use. You got to be emotionally resilient, and you're going to have to wield two things at the same time. Humility is the first. You're going to have to come to grips with admitting all the things that you don't know. And then you're going to have a lot of confidence, unshakable confidence in the one truth that you know that very few other people in the world buy into. And stick to it. If it is a truth, then try it by fire, and that ought to keep standing if it is truth. So in practice, what I'm saying is acknowledge that there's a lot of things you don't know, and surround yourself with people that know all the things that you're weak in. But in that arena where you are strong, wield that strength effectively. And just you got to be smart with money.
Yeah.
And if you're not smart with money, hook up with somebody that is. So I don't know if that's what you're looking for or not, but I would definitely say humility and confidence, not arrogance.
Yeah.
Humility and confidence are two things you got to get a hold of and master.
Definitely. Great. But I just want to say a big thank you for participating in this podcast, Trevor. I'm really glad to have you on board. And I wish the best for your company, Census Technology, and I hope you guys go really far in life.
Well, thank you so much, and call me anytime.
Great, great.
All right.